The Olympic Stadium, Saturday the 15th of August 2016, Rio de Janeiro. It's 9 hours before the start of the men's 100 metres final, one of the biggest and most viewed sporting events on the planet. There are no spectators yet, nor athletes or officials, just a group of professionals who have so much at stake when the starting pistol fires.
I have a very specific shot that I'm aiming to take. I'm hoping for a tight shot of the winner, one person either side of them, and I also have quite a wide angle lens on the timer in case somebody sets a world record or an Olympic record. It's a big event of the Olympics, everybody's waiting for it, and we have people in every position. With 100 meters, it's over so fast, so you only get one chance to take the key shot.
Olympians caught in time. The history makers of the Games captured in a single iconic moment. A story that's taken a lifetime to create, told in one shot, one freeze frame. The hopes, the dreams, the sacrifice, the tantrums, the tears, the grace, the expectation, the belief, the joy. I've been lucky enough to compete in 4 Olympic Games, and I've experienced all of those emotions. I've also been photographed more times than I care to imagine. Some of the snaps are breathtaking. The work of men and women every bit as talented as the athletes they photograph. Thousands of athletes representing every corner of the planet. A remarkable display of human endeavour. The eyes of the world upon them, everything on the line. For the photographer, the opportunity and responsibility to capture these historic moments is immense. Every photo position is fiercely fought for, with the prize being the chance to take that one iconic shot that will stand the test of time. Like the athlete, the photographer needs to be technically perfect, utterly focused. They too have their own game plans to execute. In some ways, they have as much at stake as the athletes themselves. This film is about the Olympic photographers, their passion, the technology they use, the revolution in the way that they work, and the competition for that one shot.
Dear colleague, welcome to everybody. Now we will begin this first lesson of the new e-college in 2021. I'm very glad that everybody of you is here. Some people are still coming late as usual. Unfortunately, it's not, for the journalists, very difficult to be in time every time. But anyway, this time is a very special moment because we are speaking about the photography. How is the evolution of photography? What will be photography in the future also, because many things are changing in our work as journalists, but everybody of you, especially every journalist, will have to deal with photography, and this is very important. We have with us a really special colleague, because Adam Pretty is the winner of our award this year, but is also the winner of the World Press Award, is a colleague that is able to make magic with this camera. And so I am very glad to introduce before him our mentors, Martin Mazur. I hope that we can see them. Martin?
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here again with the new e-college. I see a lot of familiar faces and also new faces, so I'm hoping that it will be an eventful course, just as last year.
After we have Kay Rednage.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Great to see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names. We hope that we'll find something interesting for you and educative, and we're looking forward to your feedback, particularly after a very difficult year, an interesting year, a challenging year for everybody, and we look forward to sharing the lessons we've all learned over the next few weeks.
Riccardo Romani.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm trying to solve some technical problems so far. So you only can see my picture, which I think is better. So, but you see me shortly. Welcome to the new comers and also to the old young reporters. I think it's, as Akir said, it's a very challenging time, and our goal is to provide you with some tool in order to bounce back. It's time to start over. It's time to approach journalism in a new way. You guys are the future, and we will try to help you to put together a strategy and also the knowledge in order to fight the enemy ahead. So thank you for being here. We'll be together in the next few weeks, and I'm very honored and privileged, as always.
Okay, now a newcomer as a mentor, Jean-Paul Savard from France.
Yes, Don. Okay, yes. Hi, everybody. So it's my first training station, and I will work with the French-speaking journalists, I think from Africa, and maybe I will tell you a word in French, because I see that there are some problem with the translation. A lot of people have not the translation, the French one. I don't know what happens.
There is no French translation?
I can hear the translation, but there is the translation, but I see that a lot of journalists have problems in the discussion. Okay.
So the most important thing is that now Interprefy must know.
Yeah, so I say some words in.
There are still problems with the French translation?
No, sorry, I can hear it perfectly.
I don't know. It's what I read on the chat. Okay. I no problem for me. No problem for me as well. So I say some words just in French.
Okay.
Donc, bonjour à tous les amis que je retrouverai donc vendredi. C'est la première fois que je participe, mais je pense que c'est la première fois aussi pour vous, parce qu'il n'y avait auparavant que des sessions en anglais. Donc, on discutera vendredi et on verra exactement quels sont vos souhaits. Nous en discuterons ensemble vendredi. Voilà, à bientôt. Thanks.
Merci beaucoup. We can begin now with introducing Adam Pretty. Adam. Now the floor is yours.
Hey, well, thank you very much, Gianni, and thanks very much for having me online with you today. It's a real privilege to meet you all, or meet you all. And I'm going to try and share some of my photography from the past sort of 20 years and so, and the stories behind those pictures. I'll just give you a quick intro as well to me. I've been a photographer with Get Images for a little over 20 years now. And I've been fortunate to have photographed 9 Olympic Games in that time, summer and sort of winter games. And I'm going to go back to sort of where it all began, how I started photography.
Yeah, Adam, but why you decide to become a photographer? You have to tell them, you know, what happened.
I will.
There was a light in the sky for you.
Yeah, I mean, I became a photographer kind of by accident. I was really into illustration and drawing, and I went to a newspaper for work experience with a cartoonist, but the cartoonist had to travel overseas sort of urgently, and so I was just in the office by myself, and the photographer came and saw me. You know, I think I was like 14, 15 years old. He took pity on me and said, "Oh, do you want to come and hang out with me for a few days?" And I was like, yeah, sure. So I spent maybe 3 days of my work experience with a photographer. You know, we went into the dark room, we went and photographed jobs, and I fell in love with it in those 3 days. So then got a job at a delicatessen after school, saved up some money, bought a camera, set up a dark room in my mum's laundry, and that's how I started, pretty much.
So you could be also an incredible good cartoonist.
Perhaps, maybe not as good as photography. It was maybe a little bit more work involved. But no, I still enjoy drawing. But yeah, I mean, after I found photography, I went 100% sort of at that. But yeah, who would know? Should I start my presentation, the slides now, and then I can run through? Okay. Is that working?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's still on, yeah? Just let me know because I can't tell you. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I was born and raised in Sydney, Australia. And as mentioned before, I became interested in photography.
Mr. Adam, please.
Yes.
Actually, as you know, we are from the Middle East. We need a translation.
Do you want me to talk slower? Is that?
Today, I see that there are some problem with the Interprefy because people has not follow exactly the instruction. And so for them is the beginning, you know, because they're waiting for the Arabic, but the Arabic is working properly. So you can go on.
Okay. Yeah, so after I finished high school, I started work at the Sydney Morning Herald newspaper, which was probably one of the biggest newspapers in Sydney at the time. And being young, you know, sort of 17 years old, I was able to use a computer and I like taking pictures. So that sort of qualified me for a new job, which was set up in sort of 1994, 95, which was working in the Mac room. And it was just at the time when the changeover from film to digital was happening. We still shot film like negative, but instead of printing the prints in a wet darkroom, we were scanning them into the computer from a negative instead. And that was sort of my sort of first start in photography for work. And I'm just trying to click. Is that working? Yeah. And this was this is my grandfather. This is my first picture I ever processed in my home darkroom. So this is after I saved up for a camera, bought some film. I was rolling my own film and then processed it in my mum's sort of laundry. And this is my grandfather. Yeah. So he actually, unfortunately, died last year, 97 years old, but he had a good innings. Next picture. So when I was at the paper, I was really interested in sports photography, but there was no positions available at the time. So I was taken on as a news photographer, and I thought anything, you know, to start in photography would be good enough. And one of the things a lot of the sort of more junior photographers had to do were court jobs. And court jobs means you basically stand around a lot outside courtrooms, waiting for criminals to be convicted and then trying to get a picture of them when they're on their way to jail. And this picture is actually of Ivan Milat. I think he's Australia's worst serial killer. And it was a big sort of international story. Like he murdered people from overseas, backpackers. So it got quite a lot of international coverage. And that picture ended up winning the Walkley Award for news, which is, I guess, one of the big awards in Australia, sort of for Australian journalists. And that really got my career sort of kick-started. Now I'll move on to how I got into sport and then underwater photography. So my first underwater housing was basically a fish tank, which I purchased, I think would have been 1993, something like that. It was about $39. As I'd seen a picture, I grew up in Sydney and I did a lot of swimming training, a lot of sport. And I'd seen pictures when I was, you know, young, like 14, 15, but I didn't know how to capture them in a camera. And then after I learned a little bit more from working, I discovered that I could put a camera into a fish tank and make a sort of a cheap underwater housing. So this was my sort of first setup. And I took out one of my best friends at high school. His name was Ben. And at the time, the Sydney Olympics had just been, or had been announced a few years before, but they had just finished building the Olympic swimming venue out at Homebush. And it was in the newspaper, it had just opened up. So I rang up the manager at the swimming pool and said, "Oh, I have an idea for a picture. Can I come out and photograph my friend for the newspaper there?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, sure thing, come out." So I went out to the swimming pool with my dad assisting me, Ben, my friend, to swim, and then me with my glass fish tank. And I walked into the pool after we, made the appointment. I walked in there and I ran out, walked down to the deck. And all of a sudden, the manager, security, runs up and he goes, "No, you can't bring glass into the pool area. It's really dangerous." So I said, "Oh, no, it's actually an underwater camera housing. So it's not a fish tank, it's an underwater housing." No, "Oh, okay, then that's fine then." So I put the camera in the fish tank and just put it just below the surface. My dad was holding a broom with a flash attached, so the lighting was sort of directly overhead. And I took, I think, one roll of film, like 36 pictures. I went back home and processed it in my home darkroom again, and this was the result. And it's still one of my favorite pictures, and I haven't really, I've shot a lot of swimming since then, as you'll see, and it's still kind of hard to beat, I think, for me. So I think if you have the idea, if you see something, fun, at least in my experience anyway. All right. Now moving on. So from 1996, I was working, so I had a little bit more money. I saved up and bought myself a Nikon 5 camera, which was a proper underwater camera, which could actually go underwater as well as in the water. But it was completely manual, so you had to wind the film manually. So it was kind of slow, pretty difficult to use. And I got that a few years before the Sydney Olympics were actually on. And because I was all excited, having the underwater camera, and I wanted to try and make the most of the Sydney Olympics. It was my hometown. It was the biggest opportunity I'd ever have as a sports photographer. So I thought, I went round to all the test events the year before the Olympics started. So in 1999, went and met all the venue managers, made contacts, sort of told them what I wanted to try and do, what my vision was. And one of those contacts I made was at the triathlon event. The triathlon was going to be the first day of the Sydney Olympics. And it was in Sydney Harbour. So it was going to be, I thought, probably the stereotypical picture of the games. It's the first day, it's in Sydney Harbour, it's got the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge. It's what everyone, I guess, internationally thinks about when they think about Sydney. So I went up to the venue manager or the photo manager and said, "Oh, do you mind if I get into the water with the athletes at the start of the triathlon?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, we'll have to check with the competition manager." And so then he went and checked with the competition manager. I went and met him. I told him what I wanted to do. And I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he asked me, "Oh, can you swim?" And I was like, yeah, I can swim pretty well. He goes, "Okay, well, that's fine with me. I'll have to take you out there about 1 hour before the competition, just so you're in position and security, everything knows where you are." And I got dropped off. You can see that little X. That was pretty much where I was. And the athletes swam out from the Opera House, around the X, then into the bay, and then back. And so, I was out there for about, 1.5 hours sort of by myself, just treading water and trying not to think about sharks basically the whole time. But it ended up taking this picture. It wasn't exactly the photo that I'd imagined or envisioned, but because it was something totally new and fresh and unexpected, it got used sort of all around the world. And it got me on a real roll, I guess, for the rest of the games. And I think it was just going that extra mile, or having that idea to push you a little bit further, that can make all the difference at a big sporting event at the Olympics. And actually, one of the funniest memories I have is when I was actually given permission to do this. I got to the venue maybe 5 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark. You know, I got changed into my wetsuit. And when the guys took me down to get in the boat to drop me on the course, I had to walk past maybe 1,000 photographers were lined up along the harbour there. And everyone was like just looking at me going, what are you doing? You know, I was in a wetsuit with a camera. And then after the swimmers went past, I changed film quickly on the boat on the way back, and then I managed to get this picture as they were coming out from the swing leg of the triathlon. All right, and I'll just let this one. This is a couple of pictures also from Sydney Olympics, and I will say one of the really good things I did like about growing up and working in Australia was people are really easygoing, and they will give you a chance. You don't always get that automatic no when you ask something different. And I know it's difficult depending on where you grow up and where you've worked. You don't get access like you do. But I think it's all about making contacts, sometimes years in advance. And then often those contacts you'll see again and again throughout your career. And I remember even now when I go to an Olympics or an event, you still meet venue managers and sporting managers who I met, when I was, 19 years old in Australia. Now I'm sort of 43 and I still meet the same people. So it pays to keep those connections and keep everyone happy, and then also get them invested in your photography and your work so that they support you and they go into battle for you and push for your ideas. All right. We just went past the a slide with the second housing I purchased, underwater housing. And that one I could actually put a proper SLR camera in. So it opened up a whole new sort of area of creativity for me. I was able to photograph as I would with a normal camera rather than be limited to like a manual sort of wind on thing. And as I got that, the new housing, I started to look into making a remote control to use underwater, and a lot of these pictures that have just gone past were taken with a remote control. So I had a cable. So I had a cable going in, and I could fire the camera from 50 meters away, that sort of thing. So I'll move on to Athens Olympics, and that's when I had like a pretty good setup, and I moved over to digital, so I wasn't shooting film anymore. And I think it was Athens was the first, Salt Lake Olympics was probably the first time I used digital, but Athens was the first Summer Olympics where I was shooting digital full time. All right. And so this picture I had in my mind for a few years actually. So before the Olympics, I tested it in Australia at the Australian Swimming Championships. I worked out what lens I was going to shoot it on, sort of all the details which I wanted, because I knew Athens was going to be an outdoor pool. And for swimming, at least for in Australia, the big competitions are never in outdoor swimming pools. So I was really excited that there was going to be an outdoor pool in Athens, just because the lighting was so much better than shooting in an indoor pool. Anyway, so this is day one of the games. I got there early. At the time, I was, lugging all my own equipment, scuba tanks. I had 4 scuba tanks, underwater housing, wetsuits, everything. We got in there, I think 2 days before competition. We set up the cameras, framed it all up. And at this Olympics, there was actually, I think, maybe 4 or 5 other photographers who also had underwater housings. But because a lot of people had got them kind of last minute, on the first day, I don't know if anyone else's camera actually worked. They got flooded. There was problems. Just they hadn't got their equipment, sorted particularly well. So I remember I set the camera up, got the picture, and then after the session, dove into the pool, took the camera out, sent it back, and was really happy with the image. So it was, again, I had that adrenaline, I had a nice picture. I thought, it's going to be a great Olympic Games. The next day I came back to the swimming pool, and someone had cut my cable, the underwater remote cable, like it had been severed. I was devastated. I'd put years and years of sort of time into perfecting this housing and this system. And someone had cut the cable, so basically sabotaged me. And And, you know, I was sitting on the side of the deck, you know, almost crying, trying to work out what to do. But because of that happened, I ended up having a much shorter cable. So it forced me to do some other pictures. And, you know, I didn't shoot, I guess, the same picture sort of over and over again. And this is just running through some more pictures from Athens, from outside. And one of the pictures I came up with because of the shorter camera was a picture at the steeplechase. So I actually put a camera in the water jump at the steeplechase in Athens. And I'll go back here. You can probably, I don't know how to go back, but yeah. So the camera is underneath the water jump, and you can see the athletes jumping over. And that was basically because I had to try and think of something else to do because I had the big problem with my camera. All right. So I'm just checking where I want to. And then, yeah, this is just moving on to like the evolution of, I guess, sort of my photography, my underwater photography, and then creating a story or a portfolio of images from an event. And this is the Shanghai World Swimming Championships. I mean, one of the other stories I'll tell quickly is I went to the World Swimming Championships in Barcelona in, I think, 2003, I think it was. And that was after I had the camera and I was all set up. So I think I was the only photographer who was shooting underwater at the time. So I shot for a week, the swimming. And it was a big event because it was Ian Thorpe, who is, you know, a rock star swimmer from Australia, one of our best athletes. There was Alexander Popov from Russia, who was like all-time sort of sprinter and then Peter Van den Hoogenband, who was also an amazing sprinter as well. And also young Michael Phelps was there too. And I had all these pictures of those guys racing each other. And I sent the film back to London because I couldn't get it processed in Barcelona very quickly. And then I sent the film out. Then I found out that the lab had put all my film through the wrong machine and basically destroyed all my film from that whole event. So, you know, again, I was devastated, but, you know, it just shows you've got to keep coming back. You make so many mistakes and have so many things you come up against. You can't let it beat you. And I guess, yeah, when I came to Shanghai, that was my next World Swimming Championships. I thought I'm going to throw everything at this. So I put like a real big effort into that. So moving on, I'm going to just run through my the little climbing story I did for which was in the AIPS Awards this year. Fortunate to be awarded. Just let me find where I am. All right. So I shot this story. I was thinking about the new sports that were coming into the Olympics for Tokyo, and climbing was one of those sports. And I myself, I'm a big fan of rock climbing. I did quite a lot of rock climbing actually when I lived in China in 2007 to 2011, and I just loved the sport. So I thought, with it coming to the Olympics, it would be a good time to actually shoot a story on that. With my knowledge of China, I went back and photographed for, I think it was about a week, with two athletes, Amy and Kat, who were both sort of world-class climbers from Australia. And I was able to work with them. They fixed ropes for me on some of the angles where you can see. I'll just see if I can go back. Hold on. No, what have I done? Sorry.
You have shown too quickly the photo.
I know, I can't. I'm stuck. How do I stop? I can't find my mouse. It's gone invisible. Here we go. All right, sorry. My computer is back under my control. Okay. I'll just get this set up. $30 seconds, sorry. Okay. And go back to Zoom. Okay, back in action. Should be manual now. Yeah, so for this picture, I was actually on the cliff with Amy.
Yeah, but this is a robot that is making the photo, or you are somewhere very close to her?
No, I'm very close to her. So it's with a wide angle lens, and I'm on a rope just on the next climbing route over from Amy. So maybe sort of 3 meters away. So often with sports climbing, there is, if there's a nice face of rock or nice cliff, there might be a few routes on there. So what I would normally do is I would climb or have the athlete climb and fix a rope in the spot where I would sort of want it, and then I can just climb up the rope.
Is it dangerous or not? Is it dangerous? Do you have a special insurance or not?
I don't have special insurance, and it's not. It's, if you know what you're doing, it's not very dangerous. The rope is fixed, so I wouldn't. I think it's a sport where the perceived danger is much higher than the actual danger. If you use the equipment correctly, there's almost nothing that can happen. You get a little bit uncomfortable, or a lot uncomfortable if you're up there for a while. But yeah, danger is not a problem if you know what you're doing.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, yeah, so this one I wanted to try and photograph from a few different angles. And then, I did like a few recce days before where we looked at all the locations. And then I worked out, where the sun would be, what time, what's the best time of day to photograph things, and just planned out the shoot basically. And the first day we actually, we had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get out there for sunrise. And the first day was too hazy, so we couldn't do it. But then the next day we were lucky with the weather. Let's go to the next picture.
But how many days to make this photo? How many days you have worked?
I was there for 7 days, but we photographed for 5 days altogether. So for the whole story. And there, I think the story, there would have been maybe 20 pictures.
Sorry.
That's all right. And yeah, this next one is taken from almost like a tourist sort of vantage point. And I actually went to this area in 2007.
This lady from Pakistan is better that she stopped, please.
And yeah, when I went back there was this bamboo forest, which you can see. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but this had grown. So I actually had to. I ended up finding like a big rubbish bin, and I had to stand on top of a rubbish bin with like a camera on top of a long pole to get this angle, just because the conditions had changed in the, I think 7 or how long, when did I go? 2000. Yeah, like 13 years actually before when I was there. So the tree had grown so much. And next one, yeah, this is also when I'm on a rope as well. So I had another friend who, she lived in China as well. She fixed the rope for me on the next route over. And then I was able to photograph Amy and Kat climbing this feature.
But nobody has taken a photo of you on the rope?
No one did, because it was just me and the 2 climbers. So there wasn't anyone else. It was pretty small crew. And this one was a little bit easier. This is inside a big cave. So it was a little bit, and I was just standing on the ground for this one. So it's a bit more accessible. And yeah, this is the same location as the first frame, but just as the sun popped out on sunrise, and Amy sort of fell off, but was okay, obviously. And I'll go through, and so yeah, the climbing picture basically got me thinking a lot about rock climbing. And then I photographed that story just before the whole COVID pandemic set in. So it was the very end of 2019 or 2019, the very end. And so I came back to Germany. I did a couple of other jobs, some travel, and then all of a sudden there was travel ban, everything locked down. Couldn't do any sport in Germany. Nothing was happening. And I went up to my my local coffee shop because the coffee shop was still open because it was essential. And I was chatting to a barista there, Georg, who I became friends with. And I was talking to him about climbing and that. And he goes, oh, yeah, I can't find anywhere to go training for climbing. And in the end, I'd been for like a little ride around on my bike and found a couple of areas that might be good. I said, oh, maybe we can, go training down here. And we ended up going to this location where there was like a massive pile of logs. And Georg ended up liking it and did some training sessions there while all the gyms in Munich were closed. And this was the picture that I was fortunate to win world press with. But yeah, the climbing was in my head, because it was that new Olympic sport. I was thinking about it. And then when I had nothing to do and I had to try and think of picture ideas, it came back in. And then just fortunate to have the opportunity to meet Georg, who was like a really, really good athlete and also looking for somewhere to go training as well. And then this picture sort of came about, which was good for the whole sort of COVID story and people training in, I guess, unique environments. At home, a lot of people were training and just in different sort of scenarios. And then the other story I did last year, like during the COVID thing, was a story with Tyler Edmeyer. He's a German skateboarder and he qualified for the Olympics. And fortunately, I think even just yesterday or the day before, he just re-qualified because he had to do the whole qualification process again, which was kind of tough. You've worked your whole life to go to Olympic Games and then it's cancelled or postponed. And then you have to start again and do it all again. And fortunately, yeah, he'll be there in Tokyo this year. And this is a story I did with him in Austria, sort of just over the border from where I live. So I'll let it run. There's a couple more pictures coming, but I'm happy to answer some questions if anyone wants to jump in. Or not. I've got some hand raises, so I had to.
Hello, am I audible?
Hi.
No, wait a moment. No, because before the question, I have to speak to other people, and after there will be the session of a question.
Okay.
They are very nice. You were also on the final last time with this, the year before.
Yeah. That was the underwater series as well. Yeah, swimming it's one of my favorite, or water is one of my favorite things to photograph, just because it's so unpredictable and you never know what you're going to get. Every time it's different. And that's one of the things I really like about photography is that sort of unexpected, the surprise you can have. Actually, yeah, sorry, I'll go through this. The London Olympics, I don't know if I can play. Oh yeah, here we go. So this is the setup of the underwater camera that we had in London. So it was a bit of a, I don't know, it was probably less advanced than what I was using in Athens because it was basically a box with a camera in there, but we could actually get the pictures out of the camera live and see the camera actually floats. So it's pretty badly designed. But once it's locked onto the tripod head, it sort of.
So you fix the camera and after you go out from the swimming pool.
Yeah. So fix the camera and then the cable goes all the way back to the side and where I have a laptop and I can see the pictures as they come in live. And so I'm just getting some more weights. And then this is some pictures from London Games. And then diving. And now, so after London, we started developing a underwater robotic camera. So now when you when we put the camera down there, I mean, the camera is fixed, but it can move around sort of 360 degrees. So it has a robotic head, which is, it opens up a lot more possibilities, but it's sort of much more, I mean, it's got a lot more possibilities, but it's a lot more complicated to use as well. So I think that's what I found with photography. Some things get easier, like, you know, changing from film to digital. A lot of things get easier, but
for example, go back to the photo before, please. Can you go back to the photo before?
Yeah. Oh. Sorry, my mouse goes in. Oh, there we go. Oh, here we go. Was it the guy?
The first one.
Okay. Okay, and I'll just share the screen.
It is too complicated.
Oh, tell me about it. Now I can't. now the PowerPoint's disappeared. Hold on one second.
Because I was curious to understand from that photo, it was under the water or over the water?
Oops. Oh, come on.
Everything has disappeared.
Yeah, no, the problem is my mouse disappears when I go to the share, so I can't see what I'm doing. Hold on, I'll see if I can go back. Can you see now or no?
No.
No, okay. All right.
No problem. I think that we can show after when there will be the question and answer session.
Okay.
Now I want, after you, I want to go to a special colleague of you, a very young colleague she is a sport journalist. Yes, this was the photo. This was the photo that I was asking. Is over the water or under the water?
Yeah, that's over the water. He's just climbing out of the swimming pool after the race.
Is after the race is coming out?
Yeah.
Okay, now after we will go to your photo. Now I want to go to give the space to one of your young colleagues that she is in a special situation. She was in Myanmar during the unrest. And she did a very good photo that I want to show to you. This is not sport. It's a sport journalist that was suddenly inside a very difficult and a great tragedy. And I will ask now her to explain these photos.
Hello, hi everyone.
Yes.
This photo was taken in one of the most deadly days in Nigeria, which is in Yangon. So I was hiding from the. Yeah, is it my sound clear?
Vai avanti.
No?
Vai avanti, cazzo. What was the feeling in that moment? Usually you are used to the sport, to go this way.
Oh, I was really terrified, and because the military army they're shooting to us, so like they have like three or four snipers, and you know, yeah.
But you were brave enough to take all the photo, not to run away. Why?
Yeah, thank you. I really wanted to cover such a really exciting and kind of adventure for me, like besides sport photography. And also this coup is like, I'm also a Myanmar citizen, so it's like one of my revolution, like is one type of my revolution. Like I can protest because I'm a photojournalist. So yeah, I do take photos and then show all around the world to see the truth of here. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We should share the name of this photographer.
No, please.
Okay, that's my question. So what I would like to say, first of all, congratulate with you. Guys, this is something we've been talking for many years. There is no such a thing like sport journalism. Yes, sport is one of the most beautiful vehicle to express our passion for journalism. But on these days, on these times, we need to keep our eyes open. It's about knowing about financial, as you see what's happening now in the Champions League, politics, human rights. And this is a great example of a sport, so-called sport photographer, that she finds herself in a situation in which her need, her crave is to report. That's who you are. You are reporters. And when the news breaks, you report what is in front of your eyes. That's all we're trying to teach. And I think this e-college will reinforce, especially in these times, this concept. So I want to congratulate our friend. We should give her a name, of course, Lucy, maybe, I don't know. But this is really good work and brave work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So now I hope that we will meet you again in the sport event, because where there is no danger, such a big danger. Now I move to another problem, because this year there will be the Olympics. You know, the participation of the journalists is very difficult this time, because inside the stadium there will be quotas, and there will be very big quotas also, very strict quotas also for photographer. So we have here with us a big expert about the press operation, Anthony Edgar. And Anthony, I ask you, what is the situation now for the photographer in the Olympic Stadium? You are taking care now of Beijing Olympics, but what do you think that can happen even in Tokyo?
Well, thank you, Gianni. Just before I get onto that, just quickly, being a Sydney boy and working on the Sydney Olympics, responsible for the Sydney, the sport content and photos for the Sydney Games. Adam is just, seeing what he's doing, has done and is doing is just quite incredible. But he came from an amazing newspaper as well, with Tim Clayton and Craig Golding and Steve Christo and just so many amazing photographers, because they had a newspaper that gave them space to do what they needed to do as well. So, but we can cover that later. But getting to, and my question to Adam, and I'm going to ask it now, he can answer it later, is what was your favorite Olympics to photograph and why? But getting to Beijing 2022, which is I work for, I'm not working for Tokyo, but obviously we're working closely in Beijing and following a lot of what is going on, and some of the things that are happening and being prepared for Tokyo. And many of the things we've already covered in the World Press Briefing for Beijing, and obviously we've participated in the Tokyo World Press Briefing. and we've read the playbooks. And so many of you know of that things are going to be different in Tokyo and Beijing. One thing I can say is that a Winter Games, as you all know, is different from a Summer Games. So a Winter Games is far more manageable, but so from a photographer's perspective, I do believe that Beijing and Tokyo will be different. Now, the reason for that is that obviously Tokyo is close on 40 venues. You have clusters of venues throughout the city. But the one thing that all of the guides have been saying is that there won't be the same number of photo positions or press seats in venues. There will be these social distancing rules that will be in the mixed zones. It'll be, but it will also impact the photo positions. So where in the past, if you were to take the straight for the 100 meters in athletics, you would have upwards of 500 photographers at the end of the straight, above the straight, and on the moat. It will not be those sorts of numbers anymore because they will not be cramming in photographers to the same degree. So that's going to be, and that's going to go across all venues. Now, you might have had another venue that only had 100 photo positions. Well, that might be limited down to 60 or 70 or less, depending on the venues. I'm not privy to all of the conditions across all of the Tokyo venues, but I do know that that's what is being done on a venue by venue basis, not just for the press, but in all of the operational areas where there needs to be the social distancing and the separation between photographer to photographer, but media to athlete. So it is going to be different. It is going to be maybe more difficult. You won't necessarily get in the position you wanted to get, and you may not be able to move around as easily as you used to do. For example, in gymnastics, obviously a photographer will normally follow an athlete around the floor when it's the floor exercises, or they'll follow a country around the floor. Those sorts of things will be difficult in Tokyo. So you're going to have to be, everyone is going to have to be a lot more creative. They're going to have to, as we get closer, those rules will be laid out for the photographers. But I know that they're not all finalized, but I certainly know of some of the things that they're looking at. With Beijing, as I said, with Beijing, you've got 3 separate definitive clusters. So you've got the Beijing cluster where you've got the ice sports. And that's in the Olympic Green where the 2008 Games were obviously held with the opening ceremony in the bird's nest. You then have the downhill skiing venue and sliding at one area. And then you have Janjiako further up where you've got the cross-country freestyle events. So what will happen there if nothing changes from now is that media, both written journalists, but also photographers, will probably stay at one or other of those clusters. There's 500 photographers at a Winter Games. There's 1,400 photographers at a Summer Games. So it's a very different numbers and it becomes a more manageable process. But all I can say is everyone's going to have to be creative. Everyone's going to have to follow the rules and you're going to have to keep the isolation because I don't believe that they're going to just let a photographer move around as freely as they are used to doing at the Olympic Games.
Okay, I can add also that to the next European Championship of Football, in every stadium will be allowed on the pitch only 16 photographers, plus maybe in the big stadium 16 additional on the stand. So compared to the past is around 20%.
Gianni, one thing I did fail to mention, and this is in the playbook, so it's not new information, but you will have to decide what events you're covering the day before and register for those events in a process that the ISC and Tokyo 2020 are going to implement. And then they will select the photographers from those group who have registered. Now that can obviously be difficult because sometimes you don't know where an athlete is going to be. You don't know who's in the next round, but you will have to decide those sorts of things in advance and have a backup plan if you don't get into the venue you want to get into.
Yeah, there will be also more agreement between photographers to help each other, no? Because
well, hopefully, yes.
Yes, no, there is it will be a completely new situation that because the future will be a little bit different than before, but I think that everybody will be ready for this.
One thing, Johnny, sorry, one more thing. Again, pointing to the differences between the written text and the photographers. The OIS that we started at the Games many years ago, they will be in every venue. So if a written journalist doesn't get into a venue, they will be able to rely on the quotes and the stories that are coming out of the OIS that are there.
Yeah.
With a photographer, if you're not there, you can't take the photo. It's as simple as that. So it is a different situation of how things are going to have to be dealt with. And but everyone's going to have to, you know, that's how it is.
Good. So now we can begin the question. You know, it's the first time that we made this kind of e-college. So we are not perfect in the organization, but I will ask you to raise the hand to ask for the question, because it's not so easy to organize more than 240 persons. So before there was a guy that has already raised the hand. No? We begin with Adama, Burkina Faso.
Merci, bonjour à tous. J'ai été vraiment très édifié par rapport à l'exposé que vient de faire M. Petit Adams. Alors, la question que je voudrais vraiment poser, c'est comment est-ce qu'un photographe comme Adams prépare-t-il ses photos? Ou bien, c'est comme le disent les militaires, c'est sur le terrain commande la manœuvre. Je voudrais juste savoir comment est-ce qu'on planifie, parce que c'est difficile quand même de prévoir déjà des images qu'on va aller prendre sur le terrain. Est-ce qu'un photographe doit également préparer ses prises de vue avant d'aller sur le terrain? Ou bien c'est le terrain qui commande la manœuvre? Merci.
Thanks for the question. Sorry, I couldn't get my translation app set up. Can I have a quick English translation for that? Just because I couldn't connect the headphones to my computer and my phone. I'm sorry.
Adam.
Yeah.
Alors, je reprends. Voilà, je l'ai d'abord félicité par rapport à son exposé, sa brillante exposition. Je voudrais juste savoir comment est-ce qu'il planifie ses prises de vue pour un événement du genre les Jeux Olympiques. Comment est-ce qu'il planifie ses prises de vue? Ou bien, comme on le dit dans le jargon militaire, c'est sur le terrain que les manœuvres se font. Hein, pour dire que le terrain commande la manœuvre. Parce qu'on ne peut pas prévoir des prises de vue déjà comme ça. Mais est-ce que lui, avant d'aller sur le terrain, est-ce qu'il prépare des prises de vue comme ça? Merci.
Adam, can I ask you something? Have you not got Interprefy?
Yeah, I have, Gianni, but I couldn't connect it to because my computer was taking over my headphone.
Gianni, if you want, I can translate. I can volunteer.
Okay, volunteer.
So sorry. So he's asking after congratulations to your images, if you prepare your shots or your point of views for the shots in advance, how you do that, or if you, like in military, like you go on the field and then depending on the battle you choose your maneuvers. So how much, I think it's, if I understand correctly the question, how much do you prepare in advance, how much you improvise then on the field?
Yeah, good question. I do a bit of both. Probably years ago, I would really plan out every picture I wanted to try and do. And more recently, I think maybe having more experience and then realizing how I worked best, I discovered that if I leave it to be a bit more spontaneous, I can get better work. So, I mean, certain things need big planning. Like if you're going to plan to put a remote on the bottom of a swimming pool or in a certain location, then you need to organize that maybe a few years before even, just so you have permission. But sometimes I do like, it's a good illustration for going onto the battlefield. I go there and then I react to the situation. And I think you do notice that with photography, if you try and do something over and over again, you lose the magic and the spontaneity goes. So I think nowadays I try and keep my photography to be really spontaneous and reactionary. But I think it depends on different people work different ways. But for me, that's how I've discovered, it took 20 years for me to work that out. So it took a long time.
Adam, now you can use Interprefy or not?
I can't, Gianni, because I connected back to my computer.
Because now there are people that are speaking Arabic and
okay.
French.
What's the token?
I'll try. You have not downloaded it?
No, I have it, but how do I put the token number in?
Interprefy. You have to download Interprefy.
AIPS media. Okay, I've got it.
In the meantime, when it's downloading, so now we have 12 people with question, okay? And only one moment, a technical moment, because, Adam was perfect in hanging to take photo, but with Interprefy is a little bit more difficult for him.
I know, I have it, Gianni, I have it. I'm just trying to connect.
Yeah, now it's only a moment, it looks that we are live. So it's normal that sometimes there are some small problem. But the most important thing is that
Une question, Président.
I would like also that, wait a moment. Wait a moment.
I'm on, Gianni, if you can still hear me. I'm on Interprefy now.
Adam, are you ready now?
Yeah.
You can hear the translation?
I heard it came on before, but I've got nothing at the moment.
Now we try going we go to a lady from Nicaragua, Lonnie Picado. You have to open your microphone, Lonnie.
¿Ya me escuchan?
Sí.
Ok. Bueno, primero felicitar al fotógrafo. Realmente yo soy seguidora en sus redes sociales de la fotografía. No sé si es una más que un comentario. He notado la evolución de las fotos, la evolución de sus fotos desde la primera, con la primera foto que mostró del papá y la composición de las sombras en la contraluz, en la parte técnica. Me gusta mucho la simetría con que capta la exposición de la sombra y me pareció interesante cómo juega con el fuera de focos. La fotografía fuera de focos que pareciera tener una exposición diferente a la acción deportiva. Él mostró varias fotografías con esa exposición fuera de foco. Y quería preguntar cuál es la diferencia, porque cuando uno hace una fotografía de portafolio, como él bien lo explica, hay una planificación de esa fotografía, son semanas, pueden ser días, pero cuando es la acción deportiva es totalmente diferente. ¿Cómo se hace para captar y no copiar, por ejemplo, en un partido de fútbol, en una carrera de atletismo, tener un ángulo distinto a lo que quizás el otro compañero, el otro fotógrafo no haya visto? Uno tiene que pensar con rapidez porque no estás pensando en la planificación, como en una fotografía de portafolio. Y respecto a los Juegos Olímpicos y la pandemia, en cuanto a la fotografía, estas limitaciones por el distanciamiento social, el equipo reducido que estará dentro de las competencias, esto ayuda de cierta manera a reinventar la fotografía deportiva en las Olimpiadas y quizás verla como una oportunidad más para la creatividad y sacar un sentido diferente de la fotografía deportiva.
Lonnie, but this is more an article. It's not a question.
Okay.
Es que son muchas preguntas, siento, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, probably one of the most important things I look at, even if it's action or any sport I go to, I would always try and find the best background. That's how I set myself up. And I think it comes across in my work as well. Like I like to have things, yes, symmetrical, just in the right position, really graphic. So your number one, get a good background and then almost wait for the action to come into that frame. And yeah, on the whole COVID situation and the pandemic, I mean, definitely it was, I mean, I know it sounds bad, but it's been one of the best years I've had in photography just because everything slowed down and I could start to think a lot more about my work and about where I wanted to go. I tried a lot of new things, which I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do, you know, in a normal working year when you just go from event to event. So, I mean, I'm excited for the Olympics. I'm nervous because it's going to be different, but I'm also excited. And I think that's the other thing I really like about photography is there's so many different layers and levels you have that you can, you know, you never stop learning or you never stop making mistakes. And I think if you get to the point where you're not making mistakes anymore, then that's when you want to try something new and push yourself sort of further again. So I hope that kind of answered the question.
Okay, so now we go to another lady, Nelly from Palestine. Nelly, can you hear me? Open the microphone. You have to open the microphone.
الصوت واضح؟
Okay.
مسموع الصوت؟
Yes.
اوكي. عندي سؤال. انا في مصورة رياضية. احيانا بعض برامج المونتاج وبعض تعديل الصور، هل تضفي هي فعلا ممكن احنا نعتمد على الفوتوشوب مثلا وبعض البرامج في تعديل بعض الصور الرياضية؟
Nelly, sorry, it's very difficult. We have to change now. Wait a moment, because the sound is very bad. And the translator cannot translate properly. So we go to the next, Mohammed from Egypt. Mohammed El-Kadi. Open your microphone. Mohammed, you have to open the microphone. The microphone. There is put your microphone near your mouth. Hello? No, there is no sound, no sound. Let's go to Dal Noren from Yemen.
السلام عليكم.
Okay.
Okay. السلام عليكم. هلو مستر جانيني، هلو مستر آدم. مستر آدم أنت مصور جيد ومحترف ورائع، تعلمنا منك الكثير. وسؤالي الآن يقول: مع تطور التكنولوجيا وتغير الزمن وتنوع الكاميرات والعدسات واختلاف جودتها، هل الآن أصبح المصور الجيد والمحترف ومن يمتلك الإمكانات المادية؟ أوكي. مع تطور التكنولوجيا وتغير الزمن واختلاف العدسات والكاميرات، هل الآن أصبح من يعترفون بالمصور الجيد والمحترف هو من يمتلك الإمكانات المادية والأدوات المتطورة؟
He's asking if there is an advantage to be in the developed country because you have better machinery.
I mean, I don't know. I would argue no. I mean, you can still get good pictures on whatever camera you want. And actually, someone asked me in the chat about that too. And I think I look back to when I was 17 years old, I was using a basic camera. Everyone nowadays, the phone camera is better than what I was using then. And I was able to get, I think, good imagery. So it just comes down to your eye and your idea and then executing that the best way you can. And you don't need to have the latest equipment. I mean, definitely if you're at like a football game or you're shooting the 100-meter final, if you're next to someone that's shooting 20 frames a second and you're shooting one picture, of course they have an advantage. But if you frame your picture better, you think about it and it happens for you, you're still going to have a better picture. Doesn't matter what camera you're on. So I wouldn't let that put me off, getting into photography or starting a career in photography if you don't have the greatest equipment, because you can do, a good photographer can capture a picture with anything really. So I don't think it's that big a difference from one sort of country, or if a country is more financially better off than another, at least in my experience as well. And actually, I'll just add one more thing. I mean, I even like to go back to shooting like large format sometimes, just because you can only take one picture and it does slow your whole process down and you need to think much more rather than just go in there and, hammer every sort of picture you see. If you get one chance, you make that chance count. So it can be helpful as a photographer to do that sometimes.
Okay, now we go to India. Adzarika. Adzarika, are you there?
Good evening to all of you. Yes, I am there. Good evening, Adam, and hello to all of you in different parts of the...
Now you are mute now. What happened? The technicality is not good. She's frozen now. So we go to another lady, Christelle.
Oui, merci, je suis là. Bravo à Adam pour la qualité et l'originalité de ces images. J'aimerais savoir si dans l'exercice de ses fonctions, est-ce qu'il a déjà été confronté à un accident ou à un incident? Parce que je vois qu'il est très audacieux et très innovant.
So was the question whether something changed that made me how I am? Is it and how I work? Was that the sort of question? If something happened in my life to do that? Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, I think I was really fortunate. I mean, as Anthony mentioned before, I started work at the Sydney Morning Herald newspaper, and the photographers there, they were some of the best sports photographers in the world at the time, and they still are. And they were really, really helpful with me. I could ask them any questions. They would give me advice. And, they pushed me. And, if I did something wrong or was messing around, I was like 20 something years old. If I wasn't focused on my photography, they would pull me back in line and say, look, you've got this opportunity, you've got one chance, make the most of it. So that was really, really, I think, helpful and set me on my path. And I do think about that. I realize I'm so fortunate to have a job. I mean, it's not a job even, it's something that I love. And you meet thousands of people around the world, and a lot of people can never do a job where it's a passion as well. So it's a real privilege, and I know how fortunate I am, and I want to make the most of that. I don't want to waste any opportunity. And I think did something happen? I mean, I put it back to maybe my sort of illustration and interest in painting backgrounds. I kind of saw pictures a little bit differently. Like I look at not so much photography for reference or for inspiration, but more artwork, painting. And I think that's also different because it's more about graphics and lighting. You're in total control as an artist, as a painter, because you can paint from your mind or you can paint what's there. Whereas photography, it's the light is the light, you don't have that control. So I think that's part of my process as well, is thinking about my photography a little bit differently.
Okay, now we go to Canada. Vanni, the great translator. You can speak in English, Vanni. Open the microphone, yes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. I want to join my colleagues in congratulating for your great work, and I just have one very simple question, and I apologize in advance if it's too lame. What makes a pretty picture? What are you looking for after shooting probably thousands of frames? What are you looking for to get that picture that is ready for consumption?
I mean, I want to have something different. That's one of the other things I learned early on, and why I put myself in some tricky situations sometimes is I want to get something that no one else has, that hopefully no one else has thought about. And I mean, for sports photography, I want to have a picture that has a number of different elements or layers. So it's not just an action picture. It might be an action picture, but it has beautiful lighting, or it might be emotion, but the background is perfect. The composition is perfect. So I think that's what does it for me as a photographer, and what I try and achieve with every picture I take. Or not every picture, obviously, but if I'm working on something, that's what I want to aim for as well. So not just one layer. I need to have a number of different layers and elements to make it a pretty picture.
Okay, now we go to India with Shishir Okwe.
Hello everyone, it's Shishir from Bangladesh, Dhaka.
Bangladesh, you have to be India.
Yes.
That was India.
Sorry, I could not put my country name. Very beautiful works, photographs from Adam. My question is about drone photography. Drone photography is emerging in journalism. What is the future of drone photography in sports, and how much have you tried? Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't understand the type of photography. Was it phone or like
drone?
Oh, drone. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone into using drones. I think it's important for sure, but I can't really answer that just because I haven't set out to do that. I mean, there's still a lot of other things I want to try and do before I learn drones, so I've left that for later. Yeah, I mean, sorry. I mean, if I want to get an aerial picture, I have to do it maybe old school and try and get money for a helicopter or something. So it's it's a funny question though, because I just did my first proper video project, and everyone goes, "Oh, great drone work, great drone photography." And I was like, "Oh no, it actually was in a helicopter, not a drone." So I think now when anyone sees an aerial picture, they automatically assume it's with a drone. So I mean, obviously it's become mainstream almost. But I think I'm too late to the party. I mean, of course, I will, if I have the opportunity to do it, I'll do it just because it's going to be something new for me. But I haven't done anything yet. I'm sorry.
But another question is, what do you think about the future of drone photography in sports? Do you get me?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got a future, but obviously not in professional sport because it's going to be so restricted and I guess dangerous if there's crowds around. So I think if it's a TV network or someone doing it, then they have all the licenses arranged. But I think if you're shooting sport in your local park and you have the license and you're allowed to fly, then yeah, definitely go ahead. It's a different angle that not everyone can do, and it's the same as if you're trying to get underwater or into another position. So I think it's got a really strong future. And I love that graphic angle, like the straight down shot or the high angle always works for me too. You see the light and the shadows. So I think it has a big future.
Okay, now we go to Spain. David Puertas.
Hola, buenas. Gracias, Gianni. Bueno, yo tengo una pregunta que realmente, si se me la puede responder tanto Adam Pretty como Gianni Merlo, cada uno desde su punto de vista, también como profesional de la faceta de los sports y presidente de la AIPS, sería ¿cuáles son los retos, dejando a un lado la pandemia y la situación por la COVID, cuáles son los retos para el fotoperiodismo deportivo actual? Gracias.
Okay, yeah, I mean, a lot of challenges. I mean, this is also tough for me to answer as well, because I was really, really fortunate. I have a staff job with Get Images, so I still had a secure income, even though I wasn't working as much as or a lot of my colleagues. So it's difficult. I mean, I know many of the photographers here in Germany haven't been able to work because there was only like 3 or 4 photographers at a football match, whereas before there would be like 30 or 40. So it's been really difficult. But I think a lot of people have used it as an opportunity to push into different areas. And the consumption of photography, I think, has gone up anyway. So there's more and more market for photography. And then it's maybe not in that sport sort of thing, but then people are pushing themselves out of their comfort zones into other areas. And I think that's been one of the massive benefits of COVID, is it's shaken up the whole industry. And as someone said before, it's going to make new work and I think amazing work from photographers, because they're going to be creatively doing something different from what they've done before and open the eyes of a lot of people around. So I hope that kind of answered the question. But yeah, as I said, it's tough for me to, empathize, just because I've been so fortunate in being able to keep my job through the whole process, or whole crisis, sorry.
Now we go to Mami in Guinea. Mami Ebelamu. Mami Ebelamu? No. If she doesn't answer, there is another guy from Camara from Guinea.
Président, j'ai une question là.
Okay, speak.
Allô, bonjour.
Yes.
Voilà, moi, je suis Djibril Camara de Guinée. J'ai au moins deux questions. J'ai 2 questions pour vous. La première question, d'abord, c'est sur la photographie. On voit aujourd'hui que les appareils photo commencent à concurrencer les appareils.
Oh, there is a sound. Camara. Oui. The sound,
oui?
sound of your phone is not so good. Try again.
D'accord, je reprends alors. Je reprends là, c'est bon?
Okay.
C'est bon maintenant?
No. There is
Please
something.
turn off the volume of the Zoom
J'espère que ici c'est bon
and
maintenant.
then speak,
Je vais
please.
changer de position là.
No, please. Wait later, please. So now we go.
J'ai changé de position, c'est bon maintenant?
Maintenant, yes.
Ok. Ma première question, c'est d'abord de savoir, il y a des appareils Android qui commencent à concurrencer les appareils photo. Est-ce que cela n'a pas tendance à disparaître? Ça, c'est la première. Deuxième, je suis un peu curieux de savoir par quelle technique les photographes...
Stop. We have to stop you. Sorry. So now we move to Carolina Mitriani from Argentina.
Hi, Gianni and Adam. Quisiera preguntarle si cree que el auge de las redes sociales modifica a la hora de pensar cómo tomar esa fotografía o el destino de la misma.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's influenced photography massively. You know, I think I said before, the volume of photography being used and consumed has gone up, and that's due to social networks. In like one of the biggest reasons, because of social networks, and everyone's looking at photography now. But I would say one thing that when I'm at an event, or looking to do something, is I try and stay away from looking at Instagram or Facebook or something, just because if you are doing an event, then you see a picture, it's going to influence you, how you think. And I think, I mean, at least this is how I like to work. I want to go into something totally fresh and have my own perspective, because once you see something, you can't unsee it. It's automatically going to influence you and your perspective on something. So I use it, of course, to try and promote my work. And I think it's a really, really useful tool for that, to have a big market around the world. And also to be able to, like the same sort of situations we're in now, where you can have people around the world ask you questions. Whereas, 20 years ago, you might see some work in a book, but you're never going to be able to get in touch with that photographer, in your life. And I think that's been a massive help as well. So I hope that kind of answers the question.
Okay, now we go to Indonesia. Yusra Ismail.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Gianni. So, Adam, adoring your works. It's very beautiful. And I want to ask you about, have you ever tried taking a picture with your camera phone for sport events? So if you have, maybe you can share it and how to use it properly, maybe. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, firstly, no, I haven't. I mean, I did a few pictures maybe to send my wife or my mum, sort of that sort of thing. But I never used it in a like a professional kind of context. And I think I do kind of like having a full camera. And I mean, even when I go on holidays, if I don't take a camera, then I'll try not to take many pictures on my phone, just because I think you can take too many pictures, if you know what I mean, like, and you run out of ideas. So it's good to have time away. So yeah, if I do go on holiday, then my wife probably takes the pictures on her phone mostly, or her camera. So yeah, no, I haven't really used a phone at a professional sports event. I'm sorry to say, but yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for it, but I do like to slow myself down a little bit when I'm working, and that's just how it's kind of worked for me.
Okay, now we go to Shakir Ali from India. But Shakir Ali is at the phone or is listening to us? No. Can you hear us? You have to open the microphone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
No, I'm afraid that is not working, your microphone.
Now, am I audible now?
Yes. Not again.
Yeah. So first of all, to Mr. Pretty,
No, it's not working. Next time.
Am I audible?
So now we have to stop. We go to Tierno Diallo, Senegal.
Allô?
Yes.
Gianni,
Yes.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Vous allez bien?
Alors, moi, j'ai quelques préoccupations rapidement. C'est des questions. Comment devenir? D'abord, je vais remercier Adam pour sa brillante présentation avec des images inédites, en tout cas. Ça donne envie de faire de la photographie. Alors, pour les questions, comment devenir grand photographe? Est-ce que cela s'apprend dans une école déjà? Comment il vit sa vie de photographe et la famille et la place de sa famille dans sa vie professionnelle? D'après ce qu'il a dit, on se rend compte que la photographie n'est pas trop loin de la création artistique. Hein. C'est presque dans la tête. Maintenant, sur ce, je voulais te demander, la plus belle photo, c'est celle qui a été prise de façon spontanée ou celle qui a été préparée la veille? Merci.
Okay, I'll answer the last bit first because I could hear that the best. It just dropped out a bit. I don't know. Like I think looking back, they both are good. The spontaneous and the one I planned. The planned one at the time, you often think it's better because of the amount of work you've put into it. But then maybe in like 10 years' time, when you look back, you realize it's not that good, but you were just attached to it because it took you so much effort to take the picture. So that can be a little bit of a danger with planning too much. And I think the spontaneous one I like as well because it's like a surprise and it's a little adrenaline rush. You know, it's exciting to have, you know, to take that and, you know, you live that moment. So they're kind of equal. I mean, if you ask me tomorrow, maybe it's the spontaneous one, but today it could be the planned one. So, I mean, it's a tough question, but I mean, they definitely both have a big part to play in sports photography too, where you can plan for things. Whereas news, you know, you might plan where something's going to happen, but you have no control. Whereas sport is on a stage; it's a form of entertainment. And was there another part about my family? What role my family has? Is that?
Yes, la place de la famille. I ask you. How do you live off photography? Can this is learning at school and the place of your family in professional life?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, my family had a massive role in photography. My mum, first of all, let me have a dark room in her laundry. So that was kind of helpful because it stunk the whole house out with chemicals. So it probably wasn't very nice. And then, I mean, now, I mean, my wife and I have a son and they're both really, really supportive. And, you know, they let me travel around sort of the world. I have that flexibility and I have an amazing home to come home to. And, you know, my son now, he's getting really interested in photography too. And when I'm going through like a portfolio, trying to do an edit, I'll get him in and he looks at things with a totally fresh eye. And so does my wife as well. I mean, my son has more patience with me now, so he's maybe more helpful. But yeah, I think, you know, it's the people who are close to you as well who can give you an opinion that is often more genuine. So it's for an artistic kind of career or pursuit. I think it can be really, really helpful and have a big role, at least in me, you know.
How to be a great photography?
I don't know. Like, I think you've got to work at it. You know, anything takes a lot of work. I remember in 1999, I would have been, I think I was 22 years old, and I think I worked 360 days out of 365, just doing all the test events. You know, I didn't sleep for a year almost. I mean, it almost killed me just to try and get around and photograph as much as I could, learn as much as I could, make as many mistakes as I could. And I think that's how you become, you know, you improve and you become better. You know, I think as soon as you start thinking you're a great photographer, then it's over. So I don't think you should ever think, yeah, I've made it, you know, I'm at the top, because there's always something new to learn and explore. So that's maybe also helps you become better as well, is always being hungry and never satisfied with what you've got. And that's, you know, that's the story of sports photography for me. You'll go there and you imagine a picture and you never get that picture that you imagine. So you go back again to try again, and then you fail again, but then sometimes you'll get that unexpected one, and it's much better than what you imagined because it's spontaneous.
Okay, so now I have to choose, I'm sorry, the last question, because after we have to speak about what will happen in the next days. That is very important. I think that, Adam, is the first time that you have a press conference so long with so many questions, or not? Is it the first time in your life, or you were already in many press conferences?
This happens all the time, Gianni. Like, no, first time.
Eh?
First time, yeah.
So, Kenya Torres.
Hola, ¿me escucha?
Sí.
Gracias, Gianni, por estas tremendas jornadas de aprendizaje y felicitaciones para Adam por ese enorme trabajo. Quiero preguntarle a Adam si poco a poco el auditorio, la gente se irá acostumbrando a la baja calidad versus inmediatez. Y comento esto porque, por ejemplo, aquí en Honduras, en los recientes acontecimientos del paso de los huracanes ETA y OTA, pues las redes sociales y los medios de comunicación se inundaron con fotografías inmediatas que tomaban las personas que andaban en ese momento con su celular, y normalmente pues los periodistas ya estábamos llegando tarde a ese acontecimiento que sucedió de manera espontánea. Entonces ahora que cada quien es un fotógrafo en potencia que anda con su celular, puede tomar cualquier fotografía en el momento que están sucediendo los acontecimientos. Saludos desde Honduras.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big problem, but it's the responsibility of the media organizations to wait, that 5 minutes or, extra few seconds sometimes to get a real journalist or someone trained as a journalist, who has, ethics training. They know how to present a story, that sort of thing. So it's kind of two ways. Like it's easy to take that content and then not pay for it as well. Whereas if you have a professional photojournalist or photographer, it comes with a cost, but that cost is also professionalism and a proper way of telling the story. And I think that's one of the important things with awards and what the AIPS is doing for sports photography and sports journalism as well, is it does highlight that, I guess, or hopefully definitely, because I was fortunate to win one, but the professional level of photography that there is and how it should be and where we should be trying to go with our photography and our sports journalism. But as you said, there's always an easy way out, and not having to pay, the people who are there recording thing on their phones, it is a temptation. But I mean, I don't have the solution, but I would like, the editors and the people in charge at newspapers or TV networks or wherever they are to just pull back a little bit and just say, what does that 10 seconds matter if it's not going to be an accurate report? So, that's how I was kind of brought up, is go and photograph the story and tell the truth. Don't just try and bang it out as quick as you can. So it's a tough situation, but I think, professional quality work will always sort of win the day, I think. And I mean, I've seen it change a lot in the last sort of 20 something years. So, even when digital cameras came out, people were saying to me, photography's dead. Everyone can do it now. But all it does is just push the professional photographers level higher and higher. So the people at the top and the people who are committed to that will always improve and get better, and always find a market.
Okay, Ali Hashem, you have asked from Yemen again, but if it's not working, your microphone we cannot do. Hashem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, speak.
Okay, actually, I am a journalist from Yemen. I watched the photo, the previous one. It's so amazing. So like, can you hear me, please?
Sure, go.
Yeah, the previous picture, it's so amazing and so like professional. I asked Adam, how can he like take this picture by stand, or he have a drone, or by like helicopter? Also, the second question, as you know, we are in Yemen, like have a war. We need like to the people now about us, like make a difference between the journalist of the sport or for the magazine, and the journalist for the like the politics. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood which was the picture you wanted to.
Okay, I speak Arabic.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. في الحقيقة احنا الصور السابقة التي شاهدناها كانت صور خيالية ورائعة جدا. أنا كنت أتخيل كيف لما آدم أخذ الصور بالطريقة هذه، هل هو يمتلك درون أو لا ستاند أو لا، يعني في صور يعني تسلق الجبال مع المتسابقين مع الرياضيين، أو كيف أخذها بالضبط. الشيء الثاني أيضا احنا في اليمن يعني في حرب، وكذلك يعني كيف نحاول نغطي، أو خصوصا مع الحرب أن تمتلك كاميرا فأنت تعتبر عدو، فصعب يعني خلال هذه الفترة. شكرا.
Okay, yep. First answer. No, I've never used a drone. So I was either on the ground or on a rope next to the athletes. And yeah, I mean, I can't speak from experience of being in a war. You know, I was really fortunate to grow up in Australia, and we never had a war. But that was, I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to get into sports photography as well is I had to photograph some pretty tough news jobs, and it didn't make me feel particularly comfortable, not with the way my newspaper was handling it, but with what I saw other media organizations do. And that really pushed me into the sports direction because, you know, it is just entertainment. At the end of the day, I mean, I know it's people's livelihoods and it's really important for a lot of people around the world. You know, it brings a lot of people together, but it still is a form of entertainment, and it's like an art form as well. So it is a little bit, I guess, easier, or I don't really want to say like a soft option, but as opposed to photographing a war, you know, there's much less consequences. You know, nothing can really happen to you. You know, you might get hit by a stray ball or injure yourself, but you know, the danger is, you know, minuscule compared to what you're obviously going through. And if the camera is seen as an enemy, that's also really tough. So yeah, I mean, I don't have that answer. I'm sorry, but you know, I feel for you.
But we have seen what the young reporter before has shown us what is happening in Myanmar. So even a sport journalist sometimes can be in a special situation, and he can also find some incredible picture, especially because they're fixing the real life that sometimes is not so easy to live. So now we are at the end because the 2 hours are coming very soon. Before to thank Adam, I would like to show you what will happen on Thursday and Friday. I asked to Georgia to show us the program, because there will be the tutorial from Thursday on May 6th. There will be the Arabic speaking countries at 11 a.m. Central Europe time, with in English and Arabic with Riccardo Romani. After there will be Africa, America, Asia, and Europe English speaker, 2 p.m. Central Europe time in English with Kerr Rednage. And after, on Thursday, the last will be South American Spain speakers at 4 p.m. in Spanish with Martin Mazur. The day after, on Friday, there will be only one with Africa, Europe, French speaker, 3 p.m. Central European Time, in French with Jean-Paul Savart and Riccardo Romani helping them. So this is the next program that we have. I think that everybody of you has already registered for this, but you will receive the invitation and the program for this something special for the young reporter under 35. If somebody after wants to follow, we will welcome him because the schools are always open, but it's very important that you participate because the mentors are high level. We hope to have some special photographer with you to explain also about this manner, because for example, Adam was telling to us that the future of the photographer will be also in video. They will make more and more evolution. But don't forget that every journalist in the future has to be also good photographer, good video maker, and so on, because you will make 4 jobs in one. We were lucky to have only 1 job, but even already now Adam is moving very fast toward the future with video and also with writing sometimes, because when you make video, you have also to write, you know? So it is a new challenge. What do you think, Adam? There is this new challenge or not?
Yeah, definitely. And it's, you know, as Johnny said, I just made my first sort of film. You can check it out. I'll try and give Johnny the link, but you know, it was one of the hardest things I've done for 20 years. The most nervous I've been was because, yeah, I had to interview an athlete, you know, write the questions, write the story, and then basically direct it. But it was a challenge and something new. And I thought I have to, you know, take a chance. You know, what's the worst can happen? I look like a bit of a fool. Doesn't work, but then I can go back and learn from that. And I think that's important is taking those challenges and making the most of them. You know, don't look at it as something that's going to keep you away, but, you know, grab it with both hands and go after it, because you might not get that chance again. And that's the whole thing with photography, you know, like it's a fleeting moment. It's a split second that you're never going to have again. And if you have an opportunity, do it, even if it's tough.
Okay, so I thank you very much. Adam, if you want to be also, if you have time to follow us also on Thursday or Friday, you're always welcome. It depends for you. No, we invite you. Everybody is free. But, you know, you have seen the enthusiasm of the people to follow this kind of event, no?
Yeah.
And I think that is very important. Very important because we have to help the colleagues all around the world to get better knowledge of all the problems, to improve their skill. Because in the future, more and more is the quality that will win. And because the quality, and to reach some quality, you have to work hard. You have to study hard, you have to look and to speak with the people that has more experience than us. So in 2 days after, guys, you will speak with Riccardo Romani. Where is Riccardo, Martin Mazur, Keir, and Jean-Paul. You will have the possibility to speak in your own language. So it will be everything easier. And is a great opportunity, I think. Let us know before your presence and you will receive the link. But after, try to be present in time, because many people today has arrived very late. And before to go, I want also to ask to thank our young colleague of Myanmar. And I will tell her that she is always welcome with us. And when she has any problem, she can call us, because I think that she's doing a great job. She will be a great photographer, I think, Adam, because to choose the right moment in the difficult situation is not so easy, or not, Adam? The photo that was done by the girl in Myanmar, how you judge them?
Yeah, I mean, wonderful work. You know, I mean, full respect. You know, it's something that I wouldn't sort of want to do or want to be in that situation. So I think to put herself there is you know, really, really tough. And as I said, hats off. I think it's really, really good that she was there telling those stories and bringing it to light. So yeah, congratulations.
And after I thank also our friend Anthony Edgar, that is always with us. In all this year, he has accompanied us, and is always, he will be always with us in the next meeting, I hope, because he's very busy with his work, working for the Olympics in Beijing that are not so far now, because now we will have 2 Olympics in 6 months, and it's not so easy to follow everything. So
Thank you, Johnny.
Yes. Are you ready?
Oh, yes, Beijing was ready last month.
Okay. The problem is only we have to see with what COVID will allow to us. I hope that many of you will get the vaccine, so maybe that the life will be a little bit better. And I will see you on Thursday or Friday